right, sweet. Flatlined MMA podcast episode number 38. The boys are talking UFC 251 tonight. We had to bring in the big guns. Our boy Zach's on. He's ready to talk some fights. UFC 251 this Saturday night. The first pay-per-view card, the first fight set of fights on Fight Island taking place in Abu Dhabi. So we got 3 title fights. I'm excited to get into it because this is going to take so long. We're just going to do main card for tonight. There's a couple interesting matchups in the prelims. We got like Volkan Ozdemir fighting, but the main card has so much star power. I just want to get right into it. So, boys, looking at that main card, I see some killers, I see some up-and-comers, and I see 3 title fights. So let's just get right into it. Let's start off the first fight on the main card here, women's flyweight fight, really exciting. We got Amanda Ribas taking on Paige Van Zant. I know for this one, I think if you look at, really who's been more active here, you look at Ribas. She's someone that has fought more recently. She's the one that kind of derailed the, Mackenzie Dern hype train. So she's on a little bit of a streak right now. I think just in the UFC alone, 3-fight win streak. Obviously, when you put up a streak like that gets attention. She's young, and she's taken on, Paige Van Zant, someone who has all the hype behind her. I think the UFC pushed her a lot, trying to make her like this big superstar. I think she really hasn't lived up to that potential that I think people see her for. She did just get a big win in her last fight against Rachel Ostovich, but she was coming off a 2-fight skid there with losses to Michelle Watterson and Jessica Rose Clark. But guys, what do you think about this matchup? Just kind of starting off the main card, because I think this one's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's a pretty evenly matched fight, in my opinion. I think with Ribas being more active, that's probably going to work to her advantage in this fight. And with, this being Van Zant's last fight in her contract, I think this is a good opportunity for the UFC to kind of promote Ribas, because she's got that win over Dern. And if she gets this win over Van Zant, it just builds her up that much more. So just based on activity alone, I think I'm going to go with Ribas for this fight.
Got it. Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to pick Ribas too, just because when was the last time Van Zant fought? It was like more than a year ago, right?
Last January, January 19th.
She was injured too. I think she broke her forearm in that fight or something.
How many times?
She had a ton of issues with that arm, right?
She's broken it like 3 or 4 times, I believe, something crazy like that. So you're going Ribas too. Yeah, I mean, I just think with Paige, I think she's always kind of like 1 foot out the door. And, she always kind of brings up the jabs at the UFC saying, hey, I could have had another job and made this much amount of money over the past 6 years I've been in the UFC. So I don't know if her head's just like fully in it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think she's got other things on her mind. Is she going to go to Bellator or something like that? Who knows? The good thing about her is that when she does fight, she is a finisher. I mean, you look at most of her wins, she's finishing via, mostly submissions here. So, I'd love to see her get back on, the winning path here, but I'm going to go Ribas. I think she's got kind of the hot hand right now. I think, like Kev said, if she can take out someone like Paige Van Zant, she's kind of building up her own resume, her star power there. So that's going to be an exciting fight starting off the main card there. Then moving next, we have, oh my God, I'm excited for this one. We got the rematch. We got Rose Namajunas taking on Jessica Andrade. We all know the first meeting, I think we had, Rose just, I thought she dismantled Andrade for the, however long the fight was going. I think Rose was winning. The exchanges, just everything. Rose showed what she's good at, right? And then we just had the horrific slam on Rose's head, out cold, and new Jessica Andrade's new champion. We obviously know, all the stuff that happened next. Rose was contemplating retiring. She said her head wasn't in anymore. And then we had Andrade losing the belt that very next fight to Weili Zhang. So I think this is a great narrative, just because I think some people think that slam was a fluke, just because Rose was winning, and then, Andrade lost the belt the next fight. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about this one? Because this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, just based on that first fight, I would have to take Rose, but with her saying that she's thinking of retiring and that she doesn't want to fight anymore, she doesn't want to hurt people and all this stuff, not too long ago, It just kind of makes you question where her head's at and how she's going to come into this fight. But if it's the old Rose coming into this fight, I see her taking this one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the first time she fought her, she fought her a lot of the way that I thought Jacek fought Andrade, just keeping her at a distance and like just playing the matador. And I think that if she can do that this time and just not get caught in the clinch and thrown, I think she'll definitely win. There's only 3 rounds, right?
Yeah, there's only a 3-round fight. So I mean, I look at this one too, and obviously Andrade has those nasty slams, and I agree. I think if she just kind of stays away from that, I think if you guys watch the countdown, Andrade said the same thing. She goes, "I'm going for the same move." She's pretty blunt about it. She's like, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it violently this time." So it's like, it is kind of crazy. I think Rose is going to keep her distance. I think she's just going to use her boxing. I personally think it's going to be an easy night for Rose. I think it's going to be a fun fight, but I think it's going to be easy night. I think, from what I've seen on all the pre-fight stuff, her head definitely seems back in it. Her coach, Pat Barry, I think she said she's more motivated than ever, all this stuff. And do you guys think that the winner of this sets up with another fight with Weili Zhang, or what do you think there?
Who else is in that division that would be I would think, but I'm trying to think of who else is in that division right now that could possibly
yeah, I mean, I know Weili.
It'd be all rematches. Actually, Nana Yunus hasn't fought Zhang, has she?
No, so that's why.
Yeah, so I feel like if she wins, they're gonna give her the Zhang fight, and then if Andrade wins, I don't think they're gonna give her the rematch because she got beaten pretty convincingly, right?
I mean, she got beaten. She got beaten like the first minute, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think and it's not like it was a fluke slam or a one punch. I mean, Andrade is known for being like a pit bull in there and just going at it, and then she got beat at her own game by Zhang. So I don't think they're gonna give her the rematch if she wins.
Yeah, like the only fights that I see that would make any sense would be the Joanna rematch, because that was an awesome fight with Weili. Tatiana Suarez is ranked number 3, so I guess you could kind of make a case. But yeah, if Rose wins, I see her getting that fight, or them trying to make that Joanna rematch. One of those two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, we'll see how Rose looks. I mean, I think when she's on. I think she's unstoppable. I mean, look what she did to Joanna, not once but twice, right? Those are 2 convincing wins, and that was the best strawweight in the world at the time. So I think she just got to keep her head in it, and we'll see. But who knows? But I mean, that one's got fight of the night written all over it too. Personally, though, I do think it's going to be an easy night for Rose. I think we're going to see a vintage Rose performance here. So that's going to be a fun one, boys. I'm excited. And then let's just get into the fun stuff. We got 3 straight title bouts. First one starting off, we got for the vacant bantamweight title. As we all know, Henry Cejudo, after beating Dom Cruz, walked away from the sport, opening up the title at bantamweight. We got Peter Yan taking on the featherweight legend Jose Aldo. I think the big narrative for this one is I think Jose Aldo might be the first fighter in history to be getting a title shot after back-to-back losses. I know that his last fight with Marlon Moraes was a little controversial, but still he's going back-to-back losses and he gets a title shot in a different division.
I think Chael Sonnen did that with the John Jones fight, didn't he?
Did he do that with the Jones fight?
I think he may be the only other guy.
Well,
maybe I could be wrong, but yeah, it's crazy. You're right.
Chael talked his way into that, so he's he's good at that. He's taken on Peter Yan, who has proven to be an absolute killer. The guy, you know what I mean? I think his last loss was back in 2016, so he's on an absolute tear. His boxing is on a different level. He destroyed the likes of Dodson, Jimmy Rivera, and then we saw him just dismantle Uriah Faber in his last fight. Yet, was a 40-year-old, retired skateboarder, Uriah Faber, but he still destroyed him. And then we got Jose Aldo, like I said before, coming off those 2 losses to the featherweight champ, Alexander Volkanovski, and then the Marlon Moraes decision, which I think everyone agrees should have went Aldo's way. I know we already talked about that fight too. So I'm going to open it up. What do you guys think about this match? Because this one's kind of a tough one to pick, depending on what Aldo shows up. You know, are we going to get leg kicks from Aldo, or is he just not going to do that anymore? You know what I mean? So what do you guys think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are picking Jan just because of his record, and he's kind of the up-and-comer. And,
yep.
You know, he beat Faber in a pretty impressive fashion. But I don't know. I think the level of competition that he's, you know, faced in his past, I mean, of course, Rivera is really good. Dodson's really good. But he beat them, you know, with decisions. I think this is going to be, you know, pretty good step in competition for him facing Jose Aldo. I think I'm going to go with Aldo this one. I think I'm going to pick him.
You think going to get a finish, or what do you think?
Yeah, come back to me. I'll have to think about it a little bit more.
All right. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to pick Aldo too. I think that the best opponent that that Peter Yan's faced would probably have been Rivera. I mean, Rivera is definitely like top bantamweight, but I wasn't super impressed at him finishing Faber coming out of retirement. And I think, dude, every time I've picked against Aldo since he lost the belt, I've been wrong. So, I mean, I'm not gonna pick against Aldo. I've been really impressed with him, even with his cut to bantamweight. I think he looked good with his last cut. Like, maybe he didn't visually look good, but his performance was definitely was on point against Rice. So, got to pick Aldo this time.
Yeah. No, 100%. I'm gonna go with the crowd here. I'm picking Aldo as well. I think he's just a different breed. I think, you know, I don't know if Peter Yan's kind of faced the fighter that, you know, Aldo was. I think people forget that this man's just been destroying people for the past, you know, decade here. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, he was a featherweight, but I think Jan's in for a long night. I think we're gonna see, like I'm talking about Rose. I think we're gonna see vintage Aldo. I think we're gonna see leg kicks. We all know Aldo can take a punch too. So I don't think he's afraid of Jan's boxing or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because if Aldo wins, you know, he's a double champ now, right? Does that bring Cejudo out of retirement? Or are we going to see Cejudo Aldo if Aldo wins, of course? What do you think?
Yeah, Cejudo just needs to get paid. I don't think it matters the opponent. I just think the money is the sticking point for him, or getting that you know, that third belt in another weight class.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they both kind of have to align. It has to be that third belt, and he has to have the money as well. But yeah, it seems like he's kind of active on Twitter and on social media still. Like, he's still trying to stay relevant. So I do think, you know, we'll see him again at some point.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming at Sean O'Malley and stuff still. Like, it's insane. Like, he's you know, he's coming at Ryan Garcia for a boxing match. Like, it's kind of wild what he's doing. But
his retirement's fake as hell.
Oh my God,
about that.
It's totally
stunned.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think yeah, obviously, really whoever wins here, I think it's the bantamweight division is so stacked. So I really do believe if Aldo wins, I really do feel like Cejudo will want to come back and fight Aldo and take out another legend, you know, per se, right? And I think if Peter Yan wins, I think we're going to see like the bantamweight division kind of back in order, right? I think he'll take on, you know, Sterling next, and then maybe Cody's. We know what I mean. I think Jan's not that guy. He already said it today. He's not the guy looking to jump divisions and get these super fights. He wants to take them out one by one. So I think either way, we're going to see it's going to be some fun with the bantamweight division. Think about, you know, all the killers right now that are in that division, right? The up and comers, you know, Cody finally back coming out with a vicious knockout. Like, we got guys that are like, this division's up there with lightweight as like one of the scariest in the UFC. So overall, this fight's going to be good regardless. I think we're going to see a great fight. I mean, we've already talked about potentially, you know, 2 fight of the nights already, and, you know, we're not even at the co-main yet, so it's insane. So so consensus, Jose Aldo and New, we'll see what happens. So that's going to be a very fun fight. Moving forward, co-main event, we got another rematch on the card. We have the featherweight strap on the line. We got Alexander Volkanovski taking on Max Holloway in a rematch from December. Max losing his belt to Volkanovski, who kind of, I think his narrative of everything outpointed him. Kev, I know you kind of stick with the narrative of, I think Volkanovski won off those leg kicks, and I was rewatching the fight. They showed it last night. And man, Volkanovski just looks so much bigger than Max in there, man. It's like crazy how this guy hits 145. Like Max is like tall and this slanky guy, and Volk is just this house of a human. So, I mean, you got Volkanovski, who his last loss was May 2013. He's on this incredible run, 21-1. You look at his resume too, right? He hasn't fought slouches, man. Darren Elkins, Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo in Brazil, and then taking out probably the featherweight GOAT, Max Holloway. He can't be denied. He's got good skills. He's just an absolute house in there. And then you look at Max Holloway, right? I think consensus, probably greatest featherweight of all time. Went up weight division to try to take on Poirier for the lightweight strap. That didn't work out for him. Beat Frankie Edgar, just beat another legend on his resume. And then he had his loss to Volkanovski. So I'm curious to see Max as like a contender now is weird because he's defended his belt 4 times, right? He's beaten everyone in his path. And then he had that Dustin win, and everyone was like, okay, he probably can't make that jump to lightweight, beats Frankie, and then loses his belt. So what do you guys think about this matchup? Because this, again, another fun one, a rematch. This one's tough to pick, too.
Yeah, I guess you'd say dominant of a win that Volkanovski had, where, he wasn't like ragdolling Holloway, but he won in the sense that he was winning the majority of the rounds. He was kind of edging out every single round there. I think Holloway is going to come back with a new game plan, and I got Holloway in this fight, but yeah, it's a tough one because it was so close. Volkanovski was kind of edging him out, but I think Holloway's got more that he can change. Volkanovski, won the fight. He's probably going to focus on what worked, and then Holloway's got a bunch of different stuff that he could work on, that he can improve and strategize with. So I think I'm gonna go with Holloway on this one.
All right.
Yeah, I would say that. So I was watching the first fight, like you said, Dom, on YouTube, and I'd had it 3-2 for Volkanovski for sure, and I think Holloway's best round was the fourth round, if I recall. I was texting you guys about this, but I would say that that Max Holloway, like Kev mentioned, it always is super adaptable. So that'll definitely be a big factor coming to the rematch. But I'm still going to pick based on how, we've never seen anybody besides, I guess we've seen Poirier do it, but, have such a dominant performance against Max. So I'm going to go with Volkanovski again, but I definitely think that Holloway is the type of guy to come in and with a different strategy and implement it and adapt to his previous loss. So I think it's going to be a good fight. I definitely think that it's a good idea to do the rematch too, because Holloway's been so impressive in that division. So
yeah, no, 100%. That's just respect to him, right? He's had his belt for so long. He was kind of basically untouchable for a while. I'm also going to pick Volkanovski in this. I think he's just too big for Max, to be honest. I really think, we started like the Poirier fight where he just kind of bullied Max around. Like Max definitely won rounds in that Poirier fight, but I think there's just a different kind of power level with like the bigger guys in Max. And I think we're going to see him have trouble again. I think Max is as great as he is, man. I think this is just like stylistically, it's just not the best matchup for him, right? And it sucks because I'm a fan of both of these guys. And like, how can you not like Max? He's like a funny dude, so respectful. And I think, we're going to see what he's made of, though. Him being a contender for the first time in a while. I know he was against Poirier, but that's a completely different weight class. He's owned the featherweight division. You know what I mean? He had his loss to Conor way back in the day, and he just tore everyone apart, beating everyone in that division. So he's got nothing else to prove. He's already consensus, probably greatest of all time in featherweight. Probably him, like Aldo, right? Or it could be whatever. So he doesn't have too much to prove. I'm curious to see his mentality coming out. I mean, he's got a new hairdo now, which I hate. I don't even know what's going on with that thing. But I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be a little closer than the first one. I think this is going to be a 5-round war. But I do think that Volk's going to edge him out, split decision. And then, honestly, I think, again, what's going to be deciding factor, I think the leg kicks. I think he's going to hurt one of Max's legs bad. But Max
see if Holloway can actually check a kick.
Yes, that's the other thing. So we'll see if he can check a kick, and then we'll see if he can get his belt back. But I'm going to go Volk on this one because I just think he's going to be too powerful. So now for this one, let's just say if Max wins, do they do the trilogy, or is it like, I don't know?
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on how the fight goes.
Yeah.
If it's another, pretty close fight, but Max gets the win, I don't know. It depends on, the marketability of the fight, too. If it ends up being, like, a pretty close fight but kind of boring, then maybe not. But because there's so many other guys in that division, too.
I was going to talk about that next, yeah.
Yeah, that could possibly, step in and be a future champ at some point. So, yeah, I think it'll just be up to the UFC I think it'll be a business thing more than anything else.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, too, because think about the fights coming up, right? I think it's rumored that we got, like, Brian Ortega taking on the Korean Zombie. We got Zabit possibly paired up with the Ayer. We got Calvin Kattar taking on Dan Ige. I mean, featherweight's looking just as good as any other division in the UFC, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming the winner of Ortega and Korean Zombie is going to get the next shot, but who knows? Calvin Kattar's been more active than anyone right now, so he could jump up, maybe steal the show for the next title shot if he beats Ige, which he's fighting next week. So who knows? That could be, that could be another. I just think you're right. I love and hate trilogies at the same time, just because it does hold up division so much. But if, like you said, Kev, if the fights are good enough, you're going to want to see them again. So. We'll see what happens with the featherweight division, because I think there's a lot that needs to play out there. A ton of, exciting fights coming within the next 2 months here for the rest of the summer. So Volkanovski, Max, potential another fight of the night right there. And let's just get to the main event. And what a whirlwind it's been. Originally slated for the welterweight title, Kamaru Usman taking on the rising contender, potentially fighter of the midway of the year, fighter of the year. I said that right. Gilbert Burns, who's been on an absolute tear, destroying Tyron Woodley, getting a shot at the title here. Originally it was supposed to be Jorge, but I think he kind of had a falling out with the UFC. They weren't paying him his worth, whatever. When did Gilbert test positive? Friday, I think Gilbert test positive for COVID. They pulled him. They call Jorge Masvidal. He takes the test. He slides right in. We got Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal for the welterweight strap. I mean, this one, you can't get better than this. This is the fight everyone wanted to see. I believe, if you take a look at, what Jorge's done, 2019 Fighter of the Year, destroying Till, destroying Askren, destroying Nate Diaz in the process, all finishes. I think before that, you got to look at his fights. Lost to Damian Maia, lost to Stephen Thompson. Was on a 2-fight skid. Took a year off, came back. I guess he reevaluated himself. He said, I'm done with these decisions. I'm going to take everyone's head off. I'm going to baptize him. And then you look at the champ. The champ, he hasn't lost since 2013. He's on another unprecedented run, taking out Damian Maia, RDA, Tyron Woodley, Colby Covington. I mean, this is a great fight. It's two different styles. You got Jorge, who's just a striker, but he's good everywhere else, right? And then you got Usman, who's just that Khabib, like, who's going to take you down ground and pound. He's going to hold you there, and he's going to punish you. So just take this one away, guys. What do you think about the new main event we got, Abu Dhabi? This was on 6 days' notice. Both of these guys took it, so respectable to them.
Yeah, like you said, it's that classic wrestler versus striker type of fight, and who's going to impose that game plan. Usman kind of proved in his last fight that he could kind of be an exciting striker, but he was fighting someone completely different. He's fighting, Covington, who doesn't have a ton. doesn't have a ton of power in his hands, but's a good wrestler. So they just stuck to the striking. But yeah, I think if Masvidal can keep his distance, keep off the cage, keep out of the clinch, move around, I like his chances in this fight. But Usman's such a big dude, such a big, strong dude that I think if he grips him, he is going to get the takedown. And I don't know if he'll have any success with the ground and pound or submission game or anything like that, but he will, have control of the fight if he's able to get his hands on Masvidal. So, but I'm going to take Masvidal. I'm going to go with him. I'm going to say decision.
Really?
Really? Wow. Okay.
Wow. All right. Zach, what do we got? Follow up that right there, kid.
I've always thought that Masvidal has been this dark horse, whether it was at lightweight or he was always on the losing end of the split decision. I really think his last for sure loss where he got dominated was the Thompson. I think Thompson beat him in like a dominant fashion when they fought. But he's always been. Sorry if you hear that squeaking. That's Dolce. Sorry, she's got a squeaker. See, so yeah, dude, Masvidal's always been there. He's always been at the top of the division, whichever one he's in, and I think that he's looked super impressive with the finishes lately. But Usman's just got a bad stylistic matchup for him. I know Askren was supposed to be the same smothering wrestling style matchup against him, and I mean he got that crazy knockout over Askren, but I don't think it's going to happen again. I think Usman's going to smother him, and it's going to be a decision via Usman. I mean, I'd like to see Jorge, fight him off and it to be an entertaining fight, but I think he's going to get smothered.
Yeah. No, I mean two solid arguments. I think I just look at Usman, man, and I just don't see I look at him and Colby, and that was fight of the year, right? That was crazy. I just, with how big Usman is and the power he has and how he just ragdoll you, right? I don't see anyone beating him anytime soon. What he did to Woodley was insane. I know you Gilbert Burns did something very similar, but Usman did that coming off of Woodley destroying Darren Till, right? You know what I mean? The undefeated fighter, and he destroyed Till. Till didn't even throw a punch in that fight. And what Usman did to him, that was a 5-round domination, right? And I think when everyone saw Usman in the Colby fight, I think Kev was right saying, he wasn't afraid to stand and strike, but he was standing and striking with the same exact fighter as himself. And Colby and Usman are the same fight. We can all say that, you know what I mean? And you just don't know what's going to happen. We know that Jorge is going to fake some sort of flying knee or do something crazy. He said he's got something up his sleeve. His manager said he's got something up his sleeve. God only knows what's going to happen in this fight. And I think, I just don't think Jorge's – I know he's been, training this whole time for Usman. If people, think that he just, came off the couch, and he's just going to do this. I personally think he's only doing this for the payday. I think the UFC was like, can you please save this card? We'll give you $1 million. And I think he's just doing it for the money. I really do. Because Ben Askren did send out a tweet. He goes, Jorge's probably going to lose. He's doing this for the payday. And they're probably going to set up a rematch on a full camp. Something like that. So I don't know. I don't know if I believe it or what. But I do think he's doing this because he finally got what he asked for, which is probably $1 million just to fight. And that's it. So I think Usman's going to finish him. I think he's going to finish him. I think it's going to be a late finish.
A submission or a TKO?
I think it's going to be ground and pound. I think he's going to knock him down. I think it's going to be ground and pound. I think people are going to say I'm crazy, but I think Usman's just on a different level than everyone else, man. And he just looks so good and everyone. He's getting better in every one of his fights. And I think in that Colby fight, I think he showed why he's the champ, because in that 5th round he came out and he finished Colby. Whether it was early or not, that round was going to be 10-8 anyway. It doesn't matter if he didn't finish Colby or not. He was going to win that fight. I just think he showed there that he's hey, I don't need to just wrestle with you. He's, you know what I mean? And he's, his resume is obviously Masvidal's faced everyone at friggin' lightweight. He's faced a ton of people at welterweight. But you got to look at Usman and say, he beat guys like Damian Maia, who Damian Maia beat Jorge pretty decisively, right? RDA, we got Tyron, we got Colby. There's nothing to, look down about to Usman. Is he the most exciting fighter? No. Is the people want to see Jorge as champ? I think so. But I'm going to go Usman. I think he's going to finish him. I think we're going to see, everyone's going to be shocked on Saturday night. I think Usman's going to come out. He's got a statement. He's going to make a statement. And then from there, I think regardless of wherever this goes, if Jorge wins, I guess that sets up the Colby fight, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That's kind of perfect time there. And then if Usman wins, I don't know, do they make the Colby fight again? Or what do you think happens there?
I think they're going to throw Thompson in there.
Think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a question for Kev. How do you picture a decision by, what do you think by Masvidal? How do you think that would go?
I see him he's definitely going to get taken down, but I think
he's going to hop right back up.
Yeah, every round has to start on the feet. I think he's going to be able to move around. And another thing that I was thinking that I forgot to bring up is that Usman complains about his knees all the time, that he's got really bad legs. I heard him say on the Rogan podcast that he has to walk downstairs backwards because his legs hurt him so much. So I don't know if that's something that Masvidal is planning on, taking advantage of, if he's going to throw some leg kicks and move around. And but I don't know. I just see Usman. He's such a great wrestler, but other than that, I think strategy-wise, Masvidal, plans his fights out a lot better than Usman does. Usman just relies on his superior wrestling, and in the case of Covington, they were pretty comparable in striking. He just had more power. I think that was the difference in that fight. They both had, pretty good output. But Usman was just hitting them harder each time they exchanged.
Yeah.
I think it works in Masvidal's, favor that Usman's kind of that one-dimensional fighter too, because he's not going to stand there and strike him. That's not going to be Usman's game plan. He knows that he's going to come out and he's going to try to take him down one way or another, most likely up against the cage. So I got faith that Masvidal's planning on that, and he's got a strategy for it, just like he did with the Askren fight, and how he planned for the Till fight as well. Even though it's a different fighter, he had that set up planned, and he talked about it after the fight.
Yeah.
That they went through that in training hundreds and hundreds of times, and he ended up getting a knockout. So I think he's a little bit more well thought out than Usman is when it comes to pre-fight stuff.
Even on 6 days' notice, though, cutting 20 pounds.
I don't know if he's cutting 20 pounds, is he?
He said it in an interview. He said he's cutting 20 pounds, but who knows if that's true, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I
said he was 192 at the barbecue when he got the call from Dana. So who knows?
I don't know, because I feel like he came up to this weight class so he didn't have to cut that much weight.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what he said. So he could just be saying that to obviously make himself look a lot better. But
he put some pounds on in quarantine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just, dude. I know he's probably been training for the past 6 months for Usman, knowing that he was going to get the next shot. It's just 6 days notice, traveling, halfway across the world, fighting this guy who he's undefeated in the UFC, right? His last loss was CFA 11 in May 2013. You know what I mean? This guy has not even been tested yet in the UFC, other than that Colby fight. Obviously, it was a great fight. It's just tough to do. If he can do it, his star power goes through the roof. You know what I mean? Masvidal's obviously, last year made him a huge star. If he can come in on 6 days' notice and friggin' baptize Usman like he says, he's going to be that's going to be, his star power is going to be insane.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But, I'm hoping to see, a great fight. I'm hoping there's not a flying knee 5 seconds in. I'm hoping it's nothing crazy like that. I want to see these 3 title fights. I want to see them go deep, and I want to see finishes in all of them, just because, we haven't seen a card like this, especially on, like, Fight Island. I hope Fight Island's, like, awesome, too. Like, I hope they do some, like, cool stuff. We got 4 straight cards at Fight Island, so I'm pumped about that. And then, so, yeah. Anything else? UFC 251. What do you guys got? Anything else? Last thoughts?
No, that's it.
All right, cool. And then just to put this one out there too, just because this one is next Wednesday night, so I definitely want to just talk about this one real quick. We have our hometown boy, Calvin Kattar, taking on Dan Ige in an exciting featherweight bout. We don't have to get too into it, but I'm assuming we're all Team Kattar here.
Yeah.
Team Kattar all day. So I just think Kattar, I think he just took this fight to be more active, to be completely honest. I think it's definitely a risk on his end because Ige is, obviously coming off that win of Edson Barboza, who, I think a lot of people thought Edson won that, but Kattar's on an absolute tear. So I'm hoping to see a vicious, first, second round knockout from him here. Call for a title shot, call for a big fight with Zabit or Ortega, whoever the hell it is next, but Team Kattar all day. What else you guys got?
That was it.
UFC 251 this Saturday night, Fight Island, Abu Dhabi. Go order that pay-per-view. Until next time, Flatline MMA. Peace.